easy like Sunday morning. I don't need Cam. How y'all doing today?
What's up? What's happening?
What's happening?
Yes,
Light skinned soul here at Under Construction.
Panthers won today. Easy like Sunday. It wasn't easy like Sunday
wasn't
morning.
easy.
Was not easy like Sunday morning. But we won ugly, but we got it done.
The F-150s are still revving.
That's right. They still revving.
They ain't as loud as they was last week. They revving.
So, shouts to our brother Rodney. He's just taking a short break this week because he was in the city of brotherly love.
Yeah.
We're glad you survived.
Somehow, because you know how them Eagles fans get when they win.
Man.
So today I'm joined with my man Vince. We got Jamal, the angry black fan, and let's just get into it. So the Carolina Panthers eked out a 16-10 win over the Houston Texans, a game they were not favored to win. They did it behind the strength of the defense. 6 sacks from the defensive line today. 1 sack fumble, a big one by Vernon Butler and Eric Reed. Despite 3 lost sack fumbles by
on the road
by Mr. NASCAR himself, Kyle Allen, but somehow he pulled out the win. So, your thoughts? Who wants to go first?
First thought: offense sells tickets. Defense wins championships.
Absolutely.
That is what I got today. Leading up into this week, a lot of people was asking me what I thought about the game, and I said Carolina will either win in a close one or they will get blown out in the loss. And that's exactly what we saw today. And one of the biggest things I took away from this game was that Kyle Allen essentially won this game the exact same way Cam Newton has been winning for the last 8 years in Carolina. And watching some of the comment threads, watching some of the game threads on all of the sites, it's just interesting watching the commentary go from Cam Newton has been very ineffective and he sits in the pocket too long to now all of a sudden we have a bad offensive line. And that is just really baffling me right now, you know? So all in all, after 4 games, I had this team at 2-2. So I know we were supposed to beat Tampa Bay. I don't think I had us beating Houston today. I think I had us losing, winning, and then losing today. But we're 2-2. We're trending in the right direction. So all in all, hey, I'm happy. I'm happy.
This looked like the 2008-ish Carolina Panthers winning ugly on the road, gutting wins out. It was not pretty at all, but a W is a W. This Kyle Allen losing fumbles cannot be a thing going forward. It absolutely cannot be a thing going forward. We mentioned this off camera. Kyle Allen needs to take his defense to like the most expensive steakhouse and buy them all dinner today. You know what I'm saying? I love what I saw from Shaq Thompson today. Shaq Thompson was all over the place. It is worth noting we were without Dante Jackson. We were without Trey Turner. I can't even remember all the people who are out today. There were a lot of K1 Shorts out, and there were a lot of injuries that were on the field today. This is a big-time, gutsy win. I actually love wins like that. I like the ugly wins. You get what I'm saying?
Shows what your team is made of.
It shows some big-time character, man. And Kyle Allen, you know, the turnovers, we don't want them to be a problem. But we also got to give him props for gut not to win as well. Especially that last play where J.J. Watt had him. He had him done. I mean, he had him right where he wanted him. And he pulled out this amazing throw that kind of iced the game, man. So, even though we're hard on him about the turnovers, which we should be, we also need to give him props too.
4 lost fumbles in 2 games. That's
not a good average.
That's a bad precedent.
That's not a good average, man.
Hopefully he tightens that up. Hopefully he gets his pocket presence, his awareness up, and he'll be better going forward. Speaking to the defense, with all of those injuries that we had today going into the game, for them to walk into Houston and hold Houston to less than 300 yards overall, that's saying a whole lot. Yeah. That's saying a lot about the defense.
Also, they've played 2 mobile quarterbacks, in back-to-back weeks. Right. And what they've done, last week, Kyler Murray set the NFL record for the least amount of yards for a quarterback with 30 pass attempts, 30 pass completions or more. And we saw that same thing this week. A dynamic mobile quarterback like Deshaun Watson. They weren't giving him much. He had to take the little 3-4 yard.
Yeah.
They had 2 big plays, but it ended up being the bend not don't break philosophy seems to be working this season.
And you know what's funny, man? I've always hated this bend but don't break. I've never liked it. Yeah. I've never ever liked it because there were some teams where I thought, all right, man, we can be a little more aggressive. You get what I'm saying? But I think the game plan was perfect today. I have to say that, man. That defensive line neutralized Deshaun Watson. You notice on a couple of those plays where Deshaun Watson didn't really have anywhere to go. That defensive line was kind of like spying him. It wasn't a lot of just baseless rushing, if that makes any sense.
Right.
You saw. There was a couple of plays with Burns and even Vernon Butler on one play. Were just kind of sitting, waiting to see where he was going to go to kind of neutralize Deshaun Watson taking off and getting big gains, man. I love the game plan today.
Yeah, so big ups to the defense. Whatever it is that they do to reward players during the week, I definitely believe that the defense is owed today, especially the secondary, because Eric Reed went down, right, for one play. Colin Jones came in.
And I was really scared. I was pretty scared.
That takes me to my player of the game.
Okay.
Russ Cockrell.
Yeah,
he played really, really well.
Dig it, man.
And he's certainly outplaying, Captain Munderland last season. So, who are your guys' players of the game?
I'm going to go to the defense and hold. The entire defense played well all day. Anybody, if I wanted to go specifically with a player, it would have to be Shaq Thompson.
Yeah, same.
It would have to be Shaq Thompson. And he didn't do anything special, but he was just all over the field. Place, man. He was literally all over the field.
Yeah, I'm going to go
kind of like that guy we
let
let
go. It was something. Yeah, pretty famous.
Well, and to speak to that, a lot of the fan base has been speaking on Shaq Thompson, that he has grown and he has matured this year and he's taken the next step forward in his progression. And he's looking. No, he's not. He hasn't progressed. He hasn't grown. He hasn't matured. This is how he has played the 2 seasons that he's been here, but you didn't see it because you wanted Davis on the field so much. Right. And I don't want to say blind hate or loyalty or your fandom or whatnot, but most of the fan base wanted to see Davis on the field no matter what. And as a result, they overlooked what Shaq Thompson did.
Right.
And if you go look at those first 4 games from last season when Shaq Thompson played in place of Davis because he was out with a suspension, he is doing nothing this year that should be surprising you.
Right.
So
I'm going to go Shaq Thompson as well. And Russ Cockrell is obviously unsung hero. I thought he made some incredible breaks on the ball today. Right. He played like a DB that we've been missing for a long time. Like with the whole bend but don't break philosophy, we know as Panthers fans, our DBs love to back up, wait till they gain 7 yards, and then tackle them.
Right.
Russ Cockrell wasn't having it today, and I love to see it, man. I will say another unsung hero today is actually Brian Burns. He hit the quarterback 3 times today.
Yeah.
And I don't, stuff is not going to really show up on the stats like that, but he was all over the place too, man.
And getting back to Cockrell, I want to go back to the interception that he had on the Houston trick play. The average fan is going to look at that and they're going to say, "Oh man, Hopkins threw an interception." But if you go back and if you go look at the film, Cockrell had the receiver who was going across the field, and he could have very easily followed him across the field.
Right.
But he stayed disciplined and stayed true to his coverage and stayed over in that 1/3 of the field. And if he doesn't do that, we end up we give up a touchdown.
Can I be Captain Obvious for a second? I think we have a hell of a secondary, guys.
We were saying, watching the game,
I think we have a pretty damn good secondary, guys.
Our secondary is why we're getting so many sacks.
Yeah.
We had 5 today.
No, 6.
I'm sorry. We had 6 today. 5 of those were cover sacks.
Yeah.
Look how long last week. Kyler Murray's holding the ball too long.
Right.
Well, then look what's happening this week with Deshaun Watson.
It's a pattern.
It is a pattern.
Yeah,
this might be the best defense or secondary that we've seen.
So 14 sacks in 2 weeks after coming into week 3 with only 4 total.
I'll take that any day, man.
So real quick, Brian Burns doing things that don't show up on the stat sheet. Brian Burns coming into this game was 4th in the league in pass rush win rate. That's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
Right there. On the flip side, our offensive line is dead last in pass block.
Wait, but hold on. Wait, how could that be true?
I don't.
How could that be true? Well, they were so great when Cam was playing. That can't be true.
Oh,
yeah. Colin Cowherd said that Cam has had
Colin Cowherd.
Pro Bowl offensive lineman. No
Where?
more excuses. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking.
He must be playing the video game.
Yeah, something.
It's Trey Turner. Who else?
Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
Speaking of people saying things about Cam, Michael Vick had some interesting things to say about Cam Newton this week on Speak For Yourself. Essentially, he said that Cam Newton needs to focus less on what he's wearing and more on being essentially the ideal NFL quarterback and leader.
Go Jamal. Go Jamal.
All right, so I am quoted on this show a lot as saying optics matter, and you know, people when the team is struggling and Cam is wearing all this crazy stuff, it looks bad. Now I say that, but that doesn't mean it is bad. If you call yourself a quote unquote media personality, journalist, professional TV person, whatever you want to title yourself, whoever gave Michael Vick this title, and I do mean gave, you should know that it doesn't matter. Like, Michael, I wish I could pull the article up because there's an exact quote Michael Vick said, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, but whatever he said, I was just like, that is just flat out the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Mm-hmm. It was something to the effect of, he needs to focus more on football than he does his clothes.
Now, here's my deal.
I don't know where to go with this. I'm sorry, y'all.
He made these comments on the Speak For Yourself TV show. I want to know how this platform, and I refuse to acknowledge the host by his name, but I want to know how is it that this platform constantly are able to get prominent African Americans onto their show and speak the way that they do about other prominent or African Americans in general.
I was getting to that point. I didn't want to go there, but since
to be fair, that person who we shall not name, he's actually a big fan of Cam Newton, and during the segment he defended him, whereas the other three, Marcellus Wiley, Michael Vick, and I can't recall who the other player was, but they essentially shared that sentiment, and there was some conversation that Cam Newton's never been a leader. He's never been the kind of leader that the Panthers had because he's been so focused on.
And I don't.
Let me ask y'all a question. I want somebody out there, and I want one of y'all to point to me one time, and I do mean one time, where any Panthers player other than Cam Newton had something negative to say about Cam Newton as a leader.
It'll never happen.
Except after the fact, D'Angelo Williams,
Yeah, but who said that? Well, no, it wasn't on Speak For Yourself. It was on. It was one of the ESPN shows.
Yeah, it was either Good Morning Football.
Yeah, it was on one of the ESPN shows. Yeah, but get back to Michael Vick. Here's why it's so perplexing coming from Michael Vick. One of the things that he said was that you don't need to do that on the job, because your job is to play football.
You don't need to get dressed on the job. You don't need to wear clothes on the job. What are we talking about,
here's
man?
The deal, though. His job is an NFL player. His job is to play football.
Right.
When he plays football, he is wearing an NFL-approved uniform. He is not wearing. Now, granted, the press conferences and the post-game interviews, that's a part of his contract that he is obligated to do so. But he is not playing football when he's wearing his getup. And let me say again that I don't agree with most of the stuff that he wears, but it's his body to wear whatever the heck he wants.
I didn't agree with the stuff Prince wore, but I mean he did.
He is who he is.
But and here's why it's so bad when it comes to Michael Vick. When Michael Vick was in the NFL as a quarterback, as the face of the NFL for a couple years, Michael Vick wore dreads. And he was scrutinized and he was vilified by, we'll go with the establishment for lack of better words, in regards to him being a quarterback and wearing his dreads. And what did the black community do? They defended him. They supported him. They argued in favor for him. Wait, hold on. After Michael Vick gets caught up in the dogfighting scandal, something that Cam Newton has never come close to doing, what did Michael Vick do? He cut his dreads. He cut his dreads so he could be more appeasing to the establishment. And what did they do in response? They sent his ass to the federal lockup for 2 years. Yep. So I don't understand how somebody such as Michael Vick, who has went through everything that he's went through, after he made the comments about Colin Kaepernick earlier this year, in which he came back and apologized, could find himself to do the same thing again.
He also made similar comments about Antonio Brown a few weeks ago. Now, granted, Antonio Brown is
he's not very smart.
Yes, but at the same time, the context of those comments was essentially that you need to make yourself presentable to the establishment. And for Mike Vick to say that, I mean, I guess the redemption tour is still
it has to be.
Where I'm going with this is Michael Vick is a person who is looking for acceptance. He's looking for that acceptance because you got to think about it. When he was in federal lockup for dogfighting, man, like the world was against Michael Vick. Like it was, and I'm saying they should have been, and I'm not saying he should have got 2 years for fighting dogs. Let's be clear about that. But at the same time, the NFL was anti-Michael Vick, and the establishment was anti-Michael Vick. Maybe he still feels a lot of that on his shoulder. Maybe there's some guilt. Maybe there's still a lot of negative feelings around that, and maybe that's the result of the redemption tour. Now, sometimes the message can come from the wrong person, obviously. And not to say that we agree with the message here, because we don't, because clothes really don't. Who gives a damn ultimately? But coming from Michael Vick of all people, let's say it. Nobody said that yet. Like, nobody wants to hear that coming from Michael Vick, man. I don't.
Yeah, and like just look at everything that's going on in the NFL right now. You got Jalen Ramsey that's down in Jacksonville saying that he wants out of Jacksonville. He posted a photo that alluded to he may be pregnant right now. You got old boy out in San Diego who literally just ended his holdout. Who just ended his holdout. You got Odell Beckham wearing $100,000 watches on, like all these athletes out here doing this outlandish stuff.
And you're worried about
what this man decides to wear off the gridiron.
I want to say one more thing about this, man. I don't know if and when it's ever going to happen, man. I just want, there's a part of me that wants Cam Newton to start wearing quote unquote regular clothes again so we can stop talking about this stuff, man. Like, I ultimately don't care. I don't care if Cam Newton wears a pink tutu to the press. I don't care. It's so unimportant to me.
I would want him to wear what is considered acceptable just to see what the people will
what the new narrative is.
Right.
But I wouldn't want him to do it because I don't ever want to see anybody conform to other people's standards.
Right.
And it goes back to the old question, who decided what was acceptable?
Right.
Because if you look at, I want to say it was actually the Panthers Twitter account, and I could be wrong with this, so don't quote me. But Christian McCaffrey, when they flew to Houston this weekend, I think he had on like a nice little three-piece suit, and the handle was like, nobody dresses better than like Christian McCaffrey for like a business trip. So who out there, what establishment out there is saying this is what's acceptable, this is not what's acceptable? Like, somebody help me out. I don't know. I don't get it.
I don't know where to go with that.
Just a reminder that the worst thing Cam Newton has ever done in his career is make a comment about a female reporter knowing about routes.
Right.
That's the worst thing he's
done.
He's ever done, literally. And now we're saying that he needs to be more acceptable to the establishment. Ridiculous.
Maybe he should wear a tan suit or something. I don't know.
Right.
Well,
So
enough about Ron Mexico. More about Cam.
And there's a lot of you who don't get that, so go Google Ron Mexico and come back and let us know what you think.
So prior to
clap.
Prior to last season, Cam Newton had only missed 2 games in his entire NFL career. Now he's missed 4 games of last season, and he's missed the last 2 games of this season. And there's this narrative that Cam Newton is injury prone. It is important to note, however, that before last season, Cam Newton was a pescatarian. He then changed to being vegan. And now there is some talk that possibly his vegan diet could be leading to an increased amount of injuries for Cam on the field. What do you guys think about that?
Okay, so since January of this year, I have kind of been on this journey to eliminate meat from my diet as well. I am nowhere near close to being a vegan, and I don't ever want to be a vegan because that is hard. It's vegetarian would be the furthest that I go. I will never be a vegan. I don't have that type of discipline. I know that already. But I'm not quite yet pescatarian. I eat chicken and I eat fish because it is pretty hard. Before we read the article that was written by the Charlotte Observer, I was pretty hardcore. You need to shut the hell up.
Right.
But then I read the article, and it's pretty hard to dispute. Just more so for the caloric intake that's required by vegans and athletes. I go to the gym quite a bit, and I have noticed that it has been harder for me to put on muscle since I have changed my diet. Mm-hmm. And in no way, shape, form am I even close to being the athlete that Cam Newton is. So if I'm struggling at 6'1", 215 pounds, I can only imagine what a 6'5", 230-pound quarterback like Cam Newton would be going through. I can only imagine how much extra food he has to eat to replace that meat protein to get his body to keep him where we're used to seeing Cam Newton. I'm honestly all over the place. I really think that with Cam Newton not being able to play to what we're accustomed to seeing him play, I think the vegan thing is just something for the people to harp on, because there are more than a few athletes in the NFL, in swimming, in tennis, in basketball, sports all over who are vegans and who have been constantly successful. And
now we can agree football is a different animal.
That's true.
Yeah,
that is true.
Cam Newton is a physical specimen.
And I took that into account.
Right.
The only name that I was really able to come across as far as who people would be able to recognize is Brian Orakpo, who's a linebacker for the Tennessee Titans, who's been a vegan for about a year and a half now.
Right.
And he's a linebacker, so he's hitting and get hit more than Cam Newton, obviously.
Right.
And it hasn't seemed to slow him down.
Right.
And the one thing that I do want to point out, now, granted, this should go without saying, but I'm not a doctor, I'm not a dietitian, so obviously there's no professional advice coming from over here.
Right.
But if name an athlete, name somebody in football right now. Name somebody in football.
Tom Brady.
No, can't do Tom Brady. Go elsewhere.
Chris McCaffrey.
Chris McCaffrey. If Christian McCaffrey gets hurt and he's out for X amount of months, and then he comes back and he gets hurt again, does anybody say he needs to give up eating meat? Does anybody say he needs to switch to a plant-based diet?
There would be no discussion.
So if an athlete gets hurt and we never say, well, maybe you need to stop eating meat, why is it that when a player does stop eating meat, now we're saying, you know what, maybe you need to start eating meat?
I am glad you brought that up, because when I first read the article and the Charlotte Observer mentioned that they did an investigation, it's like, really? Like, we're really investigating what our quarterback eats now? First time I've ever heard anything like that. By the way, welcome to the nutrition segment of Under Construction. As y'all can tell by my body type, vegan? What the hell is that? Please, put all the steak on my plate. But anyway, I will say this: what we're gonna have a discussion coming up about Cam Newton's video he put out there, and one of the things he mentions is he's gonna do whatever it takes to kind of get back to form, get back to the normal Cam Newton we know and love. I wonder if the Panthers as an organization, I wonder how much stock they put into this article, or how much stock they put into Cam Newton's diet, and are they really suggesting him changing his diet? I really would like to talk to somebody and kind of.
Well, the Panthers have nutritionists.
Right.
They have team doctors, dietitians. So it's not like Cam is doing this on his own. He's probably consulted with professionals on how he should go about doing this. The important thing to note with Cam Newton, though, is that he is constantly changing his body composition. When Cam Newton first came in the league, he was a solid 255.
He looked like a free safety when he came in the league.
It's solid. And then over a few years, Cam has tried to lose weight in order to keep his speed up because he knew that his athleticism was going to wane.
Right.
So Cam is probably closer to about 240 pounds now.
Maybe less than that.
And add to that, he's still taking hits.
Right.
And he's 30 years old.
But here, the one question I have behind that is, like, how much does that really figure into this foot injury? Like, again, we're not doctors. We don't really know. But that foot injury just seemed like a random injury. It doesn't look like lack of protein or anything like that. It just looked like the guy hurt his foot. Yeah. And now we're going on this tangent about what he eats.
I don't. Yeah, I
don't know if it's just the foot. I think it's the foot and the shoulder. And Cam has these nagging.
So TJ Watt knocked the protein out of his body, like somebody explained to me. I just want to know, man.
Yeah, I don't. Well, it's Cam. Anything Cam does. I remember when he announced that he was becoming a pescatarian. Sharps wrote an article on that too.
I have the belief that if Cam Newton was still a meat eater, and that if Cam Newton wore what's acceptable to wear, it would be some other obscure.
It'll be something.
He has the YouTube channel now, right? And the last video that he posted, we're going to talk about. What is he doing in the video? He's smoking a cigar.
Right.
He's smoking a cigar.
On the Amazon documentary.
He's
smoking cigars. Yeah.
Drinking. So it would be that. It would be that.
It would be that.
It would be that.
We just answered that on.
It would be that. So
yeah.
and then.
Well, if he was just stop smoking cigars and drinking wine, maybe he would be more accurate.
Be able to do more, And then again, look at the community work he does.
Allen doesn't smoke cigars.
Sorry, man. He has his kickball tournament, his charity kickball tournament. Do you know what the risk of injury is when playing kickball?
Yeah, I'm actually surprised his contract allows him to do anything. But
it would be some. It would. And I made the joke earlier, but I'm not sure if anybody would have picked up on it. But when I said that he should wear a tan suit, that was an Obama joke.
Yeah, we got it, man.
It would be something.
This man rides a Segway around downtown Charlotte. Y'all driven through downtown Charlotte. That is probably, besides playing behind the Panthers O-line, maybe the most dangerous thing
it's about equally as dangerous.
So that's more newsworthy. But Cam Newton's got to eat, and so do we. So that means we got to pay some bills. Our sponsor, Anchor.fm, will be right back. And we're back. More talk about Cam Newton. I'm sure you guys, everyone's seen the video by now.
Yeah, right.
Cam Newton on his YouTube channel released a video where he talks about what has happened this season and what happened throughout last season, particularly with his injury and, Kyle Allen stepping for him and just a whole bunch of other things. So what were you guys' thoughts on Cam?
The video, it is a perfect summary of the entire dichotomy of Cam Newton. It is all in one video. So we're looking at this video, and Cam Newton is completely in his element. He has the Cam Newton swag going on. He has a cigar. He has a wine that he apologized for. No apology needed, sir. And he is basically just talking about what has transpired, with him and his body over the last maybe season and a half, to be fair, I guess. And the sad part about this video is there are going to be some people out there who look at Cam in his element, smoking that cigar with that red wine, who are not going to hear a word he said after that. So, with that being said, for those of us who did listen to what Cam had to say, again, it just summarizes who he is, because he's talking about how he withheld information about his foot. And it kind of just speaks to the competitive person Cam really is. Mm-hmm. He repeated a couple of times, I just want to win. I just want to win. And he mentioned how hard this injury is for him, because he mentioned that he's been playing at 80%. And 80% is not the Cam Newton that Cam Newton ultimately wants to be. He's kind of had this battle with himself about sitting out and doing what's best for the team versus me being a competitive person and me helping our team win. Ultimately, he has finally gotten to the point where he said, you know what's really going to help this organization, what's ultimately going to help us get to our ultimate goal is me sitting out. And not knowing Cam Newton personally, obviously, but I know that's got to be hard for the guy, because anybody who's really followed this guy, knows how bad he wants to win and know how competitive he truly is. So with that being said, man, when you look at the video and you really listen to what the guy has to say, what are people really mad about? Yeah. Why do people hate this man again? It baffles me.
So I got a couple of things here, quite a bit. So first off, I just want to highlight again that I appreciate Cam Newton and his YouTube channel because it allows him to express himself, to speak out, because we know this time 2 years ago, he wasn't able to be this expressive. So now we got a new regime.
What a change of ownership would do, huh?
Exactly. Yep. So we got new ownership, and now we get to see a different side of Cam.
Let me interrupt you real quick. I'm sorry, because it's important to note. He said, when I do this video and I'm on this channel, I get to be something to the effect of I marshal the beat of my own drum.
Yeah.
I think that was very telling.
I didn't take that as a jab. I didn't say
it was a jab. Yeah. I just think it's very telling.
Yeah, I did that. I did that.
Yeah.
But getting away from that, also by him acknowledging that he knew that he was hurt, but he wanted to win, and he didn't want to go through the shoulder recuperation only to start the year off by not playing any games because he was thinking what would his teammates and what would the fan base think about him. I think that should kill any questions with everybody that has mentioned his lack of toughness over the last couple of weeks.
Right.
Because the last couple of weeks we have seen so many Cam Newton is not tough comment. I don't know how, considering the fact that this dude was playing 2 weeks after he rolled over in a car accident.
With a cracked vertebrae.
With two cracked vertebrae.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're able to fix your mind to say that, but I think the fact that he acknowledged that he was hurt and he still wanted to go out there and play, that should kill any of that.
Right. I agree.
But I didn't like the video. I didn't like what he had to say in regards to the injury. I feel like...
Was it selfish?
It wasn't selfish. I felt like he took one for the team, and the team being the Carolina Panthers. I felt like he protected Ron Rivera. I felt like he protected the medical staff. I felt like he protected the coaching staff.
Interesting.
He had a noticeable limp in weeks 1 and week 2.
Right.
Even if I don't say that I'm hurting, you see my limp.
And speaking of that, let's go back to the Amazon series.
Okay.
They knew something was wrong with him last season.
Well, we've said before regarding last season, Cam fell on his sword for the team. Because, I'm going to be honest with you, it wasn't all Cam's shoulder. Cam's shoulder was hurt, but I also saw the defense let the Cleveland Browns score in 36 seconds. After Cam drove them down the field and threw a touchdown pass.
There was a reason Ron Rivera took over defensive play.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I feel you on that.
Now, and here's another thing. When Cam Newton got hurt in the preseason, in the only preseason game that he played, a game that I always believe that he should have never played in, but another conversation, Tom Brady played in the preseason, so if Tom Brady played, Cam Newton played, whatever. But when he got hurt, nobody knew what the injury was. We looked at that replay multiple times, and everyone was like, where's the injury?
Right.
I saw a few comments on social media, and a few people said he has a Lens Frank injury.
Right.
I've had that before. I know what it looks like. It's a 4 to 6 week recovery period. So if Joe Blow on Facebook could point out what the injury was, you telling me that these $1 million paid trainers and medical staff couldn't diagnose what was wrong with him?
But we see all the time where teams will go to a player and put the onus on them.
Right.
We've seen it with Cam. There was a game a few seasons ago where Cam took a hit to the helmet. He should have been out that game and probably the next game.
Was it the Falcons when he slid?
I don't know. It might have been that. He took a hit to the helmet. They took him to the concussion. He did the concussion protocol.
It was the Falcons.
It was the Falcons.
He came back. Yeah, because he came back and scored a touchdown. And it was like, Cam Newton need to be in a hospital somewhere. But if he passes concussion protocol and they say, Cam, you good to play? And he says, okay.
Now, I got an interesting point I want to make. Could all of this have resulted in them saying, we got to get a quarterback? I don't care if we stretch it. I don't care if we kind of if we pull the trigger a little too fast, we just got to get somebody. Oh, look, Will Grizz here at pick number 70-something. Let's get that guy. Y'all think it could have resulted in that?
And see, I don't know. Ron Rivera has been here the exact same amount of time as Cam Newton. It's hard for me to believe that Ron Rivera wants to get another quarterback and intentionally.
I agree with that.
But I think that's why he didn't make the call to yank Cam. Think about it. Your job's on the line this season, right?
So, I've always said that was a David Tepper call, man. Like, seriously.
Yeah, if your job's on the line, you're going to always go with the player who's going to give you the best chance to win. And honestly, I'll take an 80% Cam Newton over most quarterbacks in the league who are not elite. Maybe even Kyle Allen. But the Panthers' hand was forced. That's the only reason why Kyle Allen's playing.
Right.
I think if Cam had come out sooner and said he couldn't play, he would have pulled him. Or if they felt more confident in Kyle Allen, then maybe they would have pulled Cam. But they felt like Cam gave him the best chance to win.
Now, I'll say this. I don't think that Ron Rivera has intentionally sabotaged him, but I don't think Ron Rivera has still did right by him. Mm-hmm. Because late last year, we were heading into the final stretch of games where we still had to play Atlanta twice, and we still had to play the Saints.
Right.
Before that, we played the Seahawks, and we played the Lions, and we played the Browns before those last three games. And I said, if we lose any one of the next three games, we will not be making the playoffs because I always give us a loss to the Saints and to the Falcons. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, we can't beat those guys.
We can't sweep them.
I always count that as a loss. So had we lost any of those three games prior, we were not making the playoffs. And when we lost that first game, I want to say it was to the Browns. When we lost that first game, I had been saying ever since then that Cam Newton needed to be benched for the rest of the season. And when it was painfully obvious that he was still hurt, for Ron Rivera to continue to play him, only to play him in weeks 1 and 2 of this year, that's the point where I say that Ron Rivera has not done right by Cam Newton.
Well, I'll just say this because Ron Rivera is the never give up coach. We all remember 2014 where the whole NFC South was terrible and the Panthers lost the 8 games in a row.
Yeah.
And he didn't give up.
Yeah.
He told them guys, look, we got a chance here. We can still make the playoffs. And they did, and they won a playoff game.
Right.
I think that mentality was just hard for him to shake because the Panthers still had, if they had beat New Orleans, if they had won that game and ended up losing by 3 points, they would have made the playoffs.
And he was saying a lot of the same things.
And I think he just felt like Cam Newton, because of what he can do with his legs and his size, he's just always going to give you that chance to win. And I think I don't think Ron Rivera was meaning to do any harm by Cam or just throwing him to the wolves, so to speak.
And we could call it negligence. I won't say it was intentional. We could call it negligence.
But the interesting part about that is we still had chances to win. It's not like we were getting blown out. It's not like we were just getting we was getting taken out to the woodshed in these games. Yeah. We narrowly got beat by the Saints and held them to 7 points that game. So stuff to say, man.
Well, it's an interesting video. You guys be sure to check it out. Subscribe to Cam Newton's YouTube channel because he got a lot of other cool stuff on there. His kickball tournament, he broke Guinness Book World Records for most one-handed catches.
By the way, there is a clip of him and Hannibal Buress going to the vegan store. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good clip, man. Y'all check that out.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to take one more break here. So don't go anywhere. And we're back. And you know what else is almost back?
Yeah.
Hornets basketball, baby.
Basketball. We are less than a month. It seemed like the season just ended. It's crazy. We are 1 month away, less than 1 month away from the return of our beloved.
Lovable losers, as Rodney would say.
All 150 of our diehard fans can't wait.
So, you guys have any expectations for the season?
Let me. I look. It's funny because I actually was really looking forward to talking about this today, and there's probably 200 people like, man, why y'all talking about Hornets, man? Anyway, we're gonna do this today, man. I have to go back to what Mitch Kopchak has been preaching lately, and I have to say, man, I'm really loving where he's going and where he's trying to take this team at. Nobody else is going to see this, man. You get what I'm saying?
The plan is becoming clear.
The plan is becoming a lot more clear, man. And I hate to say this, man. I sound like a really bad fan when I say this, man. But it's like a waiting game at this point. And what I mean by that, we're all waiting on these contracts to go. It's the truth. And I say that my statement is centered around the young guys. Mm-hmm. That's my expectation. My expectation is to see what these young guys can do because we're not going to win a lot of games. Well, let me say this. We're not projected to win a lot of games. So it's all about seeing what JB does with these young guys. He's preaching that if you play defense, you're going to play for me. We'll see how that works out. Who's going to be the odd man out? We have 37 forwards on the team. Somebody's not going to play a whole lot. Who's it going to be? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think if there was one player I would put a big old star beside, it would be Malik Monk because it's kind of, I don't want to say put up a do or die year, but it's getting pretty damn close.
He's got so much potential.
He's still got that potential.
Yeah.
You still want to believe in the guy, but he's got to show some marked improvement this year, man. So that's what I'm
personally. I don't have no expectations. I don't have any expectations, and I don't say that to be a detriment to the team or a detriment as a Hornets fan.
It's almost a good thing.
It's a good thing.
It's almost a good thing.
And the thing is, the reason why I have no expectations because this offseason has gone exactly the way I wanted it to go. When Kemba left in free agency, my mindset switched directly to the youth movement.
It took me longer than you because of my fandom. I'll be honest. Because of my hardcore Kemba Walker fandom, I'm there now.
Yeah,
but it took me a while, man.
I wanted to see a youth movement. I did not want them to bring in a bad contract, a big contract. I didn't want them to bring in a name with star power.
Like Rozier.
Well,
we'll talk about that.
Here's the deal. I don't even consider the Rozier. I don't consider that like a splash. I don't consider it a bad contract. I'm an ACC guy, so I've been watching Rozier for about 4 or 5 years now. Yeah. I know what he can do. So I didn't consider that a bad move. But in the months since the signing trade with Walker and Rozier, looking at some of the people that they've brought in, I have to go Google who the hell these people are. But that's a good thing because it lets me know they're bringing in young players that they can develop for the next 2 to 3 years, like Jamal said. Because after this season, Marvin's contract falls off, and there's one. Is it Cody? I think Marvin and Cody falls off this year. MKG.
Those guys fall off.
And then 2 years from now, Nick Batum's contract fall off.
He's going to be going by the deadline whenever his last year is.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive of that.
So everything that they're doing right now, in my opinion, is lining up to youth movement and waiting on these bad contracts to fall off. And I am completely fine with that.
At the beginning of last season, when the new coaching staff was installed, one of the things that Borrego said that, and Mitch said this too, they wanted to focus on player development.
Right.
And no one either cared or I don't know, but it's clear that's what they're doing now.
It's clear,
So
that's
everyone's like, "What's the plan, Mitch? What are you doing?" And
this
is the plan.
I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but it needs to be said again, man. Mitch Kupchak himself said sometimes the best trades are the ones you don't make.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I am so glad we didn't get Marc Gasol.
Because
that would have wrecked a lot of these. Because y'all know, like I do, we would have to give up a piece we didn't want to give up. Probably Miles Bridges.
Yep.
God, I'm glad that didn't happen.
Same here. There's a lot of talk about what position Miles Bridges is going to play. Fans, get off that. It doesn't matter. It's the NBA now.
It's NBA now.
Miles Bridges was our best rim protector. He can play the 4 and he can play the 3. Hell, he could probably play the 5 if he really wanted to. He's athletic enough. Stop worrying about that.
There's a wild card in this. The wild card is Michael Kidd-Gilchrist because with the drafting of PJ Washington, it was like, okay, who's going to play, who's not. Now, my thinking is PJ is going to spend a lot of time in the G League because they actually said that. But I say MKG is the wild card because there was a point in time, and I don't know why Borrego went away from this. I to this day, I don't know why. But there was a point in time when he played Miles Bridges and MKG a lot together, and they caused hell defensively. And if Borrego is going to be preaching defense this year, that needs to happen again. I don't know what their plans are for if MKG is going to be the odd man out. If they're just like, hey, thank you for your services, but you got to go. I don't know. So that's something else I'm just kind of looking forward to, man.
Recently, Coach Brago made comments essentially saying that he felt he made a mistake by trying to make the Hornet system too much like the Spurs.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that statement?
Well, the response from the fan base was that basically saying, translation, the Hornets team sucks.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't receive it like that. When you leave,
look, man, the Hornets fans translation is always going to be the Hornets suck until we
we start winning.
Exactly.
Until we get a 37-year-old Steph Curry.
Yeah, right.
Got it. But I didn't really take it as that. What I took it as, he left an organization and he has a vision for what he wants the new organization to be, but he can't do what he wants until he gets the pieces that he wants. So you can have the best team, whatever, but if it doesn't gel with what it is that you want to do, they're gonna fall apart as well. So big ups to him for acknowledging that, but I didn't really take it strictly, you guys suck.
I just took it as a first year head coach that admitted he made a mistake. Big deal.
Yeah.
I think maybe not because I made a similar comment in the Hornets Facebook group, and I was being a little facetious, but I do think that he was saying that, hey, I don't have the talent that I need. He's not saying that the people aren't talented, just the talent I need to run a system like the Spurs. And I tried to run that system that we were running in San Antonio, and it just wasn't going to work with the talent that we have.
But you know what you know what this goes back to? This goes back to Mitch Kupchak basically trying to get rid of Rich Cho's mess and couldn't do it. Not any fault of Mitch Kupchak's own. Right. He just couldn't get rid of these guys. It just wasn't possible. So that's why it's even more of a waiting game. You get what I'm saying? These players have already deemed themselves pretty much untradeable.
Yeah.
So going back to this waiting game again, man.
So let's talk about the $19 million man, Terry Rozier. Scary Terry. He made some comments lately that has the fan base in an uproar. I'm trying to find the exact comments. He told the Charlotte Observer.
Fan base not in an uproar.
We got to have something to be angry about.
I swear.
He said, I'm pissed off about a lot of stuff. I want to prove myself again. I am not Kemba. I'm not coming in here acting like I'm Kemba. I respect the hell out of Kemba. When I play against him, I'm going to give my best, and I know I'll get his best. But Kemba, I don't want to hear it. Don't talk to me about Kemba.
I love it.
Woo!
I love that.
I'm ready for the season.
I love that.
I can't wait till we play
How can you find fault into that?
I don't understand how anybody can be mad at that.
People were upset because they said they felt like Rozier was making about himself and not the team.
So, here's the deal. When you guys see sound bites like that, or when you see quotes printed up like that, Rozier did not wake up one day and say, you know what? Let me go on IG Live right quick and let me say I. When you see a quote like that, 11 times out of 10, somebody asked him a question.
Yes, he was responding.
Somebody asked him a question.
He didn't just call the Charlotte Observer, hey, y'all.
Hey, I want to talk about Kemba.
Stop talking about Kemba. Look.
Hey, Terry, we didn't call you. I know.
Now print it. Damn it. But for somebody to respond, because a lot of the response was, it was too much and it wasn't enough we, and it wasn't enough us. I'm almost positive if you go listen or read the entire interview, you will see a lot of we and you will see a lot of us.
Right.
But you're taking the one quote that says I, and you're getting your panties in a bunch.
Over nothing.
And to be fair, though, that's what the comparison is. The context is people comparing him to Kemba Walker.
Yeah.
We want you to replace Kemba. No, it's not going to happen.
A lot of people were upset about that deal, and I was not. I thought it was a good move. You get someone who's not really too old, like a journeyman, but he's enough of a veteran. He's got way more experience. We saw what he did in the playoffs, and we can't just ignore that.
Right.
He's playing behind Kyrie, so he wasn't getting, he was just getting backup minutes. Now he's a full-time starter, and we can see what he can do.
Kyrie is a vegan. Keep going.
That explains a lot, actually.
Yeah, it does.
So what I take from Terry Rozier's comment is somebody that I've kind of always he's somebody I've always known him to be, which is a guy with a chip on his shoulder. God, if this team doesn't need somebody with a chip on their shoulder, he's exactly what the Charlotte Hornets need as far as mentality goes. I have no problem with this whatsoever. I think Terry Rozier is going to be a guy where, and y'all know this to be true, there were a lot of games where we get punked, emotionally and physically punked. Terry Rozier ain't having that.
No,
he ain't having that. And I'm glad. And the mentality is something that's needed. He specifically mentioned in that article that he does not have to look behind his back anymore.
Yeah.
That is very telling. For anybody who has played basketball on any level before, rhythm is everything. Here's what I mean by that. Terry Rozier is going to be playing starters minutes. He is entrenched as the starter already. When you play basketball, you don't want to be literally looking over your shoulder like, man, if I miss this shot, they're going to yank me. If I turn the ball over, they're going to yank me, man. If I don't play so well, man, the starter's going to come in. Terry Rozier doesn't have that worry. And mentally, I think he's going to be a lot better off because of that.
Absolutely. I think part of the reason the Hornets brought Rozier in is because he has a mentality very similar to Kemba Walker.
Yeah.
We used to always call, there go Kemba going into Bronx mode.
Yeah.
I'll say the only, and this is not a knock on, y'all know how much of a Kemba Walker fan I am, but for some reason, that mentality did not permeate to the rest of the team. For whatever reason, and I think Kemba Walker was a good teammate almost to a fault.
Yeah.
We saw that in the All-Star game. Okay, why Kemba not breaking people's ankles?
Right.
Because he wanted to be a good teammate.
We're talking about a guy who won the sportsmanship award.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And we might see that in Boston as well, based on, I don't know if you guys watched any of the FIBA games, but, it was Kemba, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum, and Kemba was almost acquiescing to his teammates. I don't think we're going to get that.
I don't think we're getting that.
Yeah.
Especially you got these young, impressionable guys. He's not going to be afraid of guys like Marvin Williams and Nick Batum, guys who I think Kemba held them in huge respect. I never saw Kemba get at Marvin Williams when he should have got at him.
Do you know how many times I wanted Kemba to walk up to Nick Batum and just cuss him out, man? You know how many times I wanted to actually see that?
I think we might get that from
Terry. We might get that.
Yeah. That's worth $19 million.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I plan on being there on October 23rd on opening night.
Yeah, same.
So I'm
same.
looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And God, man, one other thing I was gonna say to that, man, is especially with the young guys, man, it's gonna be that much more important to have a guy like that because not only do we want to see the culture, quote unquote, change with the team, we want to see the mentality. I want to see the mentality.
And I think it's already there with Miles Bridges, but
and Dwayne Bacon, Bacon too.
Yeah.
I think he has a lot more fire than we think.
Yeah. So I think, but with them being such young players and with this team being Kemba's team, I think they had to defer to Kemba a lot last year. I see a much more boisterous Bacon and Bridges next year.
Last thing I'll say to this, man, I've said this ad nauseum. Bringing him here was such a necessary move.
Absolutely.
Because if we didn't, who was it going to be? Ricky Rubio?
Right.
That's what y'all wanted?
More doom and gloom.
You know what I'm saying?
And a lot of people felt like it was a knee-jerk move to Kemba leaving. Well, we got to do something. The more I think about it and the more time has passed, that was a calculated move. They knew Kemba probably wasn't going to take the deal. They were going. I mean, I think Jerry Valancourt alluded to it when he was here in the show that they knew they weren't going to keep Kemba Walker.
Right.
So they were like, what can we do to help develop these young guys? Let's get this guy. He's going to have that same mentality. He's not going to be. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'd love for him to prove me wrong. I don't think he's going to be as good as Kemba Walker.
Same.
I can agree with that.
But he's going to bring a lot of that same mentality.
Yeah, no doubt.
So since we got some time, I'm going to inject a very short culture segment before we get to our shout out. So we spoke about maybe a few weeks ago about the Dairy Queen on Central Avenue.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the rumor is that DaBaby is buying that property, and he's not gonna keep the Dairy Queen up, but he's gonna open his own business on that property. So considering he's got a new album out, which we have not all listened to it yet. We gave little mini reviews off camera. He the ambassador for Charlotte? Is he the Drake of Charlotte now?
No. The short answer, no. And I'm not saying that in some hateful, I don't like the guy way. Because I have to say this. This is
right. No,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying too, right?
Yeah. I have to say this. I want DaBaby to succeed in every single way possible. He's representing our city. I want him to be successful as he possibly can. That doesn't mean I'm going to like all his music. That doesn't mean I'm going to play all his music. But I do want him to be successful. Now, to get back to your question, no, because he hasn't done anything yet. It's that simple. Now, if this is the start of something where he's really trying to preserve some culture or to build some culture or to, yeah, that's it. Now, if that's the start of something like that, then I'm all for it, man. But let's give him time to prove himself in that regards.
I'm going to go a different route, and I'm going to answer the question with a yes. Okay? Now, you guys know me. I'm super critical when it comes to the music and whatnot. I listened to the new album. I couldn't make it past track 3. I just can't rock with it. Young M.A. dropped the album the same day. I listened to the whole thing. I am so glad she went back to her roots and got away from that commercial track she did 3 years ago. I listened to it all. I couldn't rock with DaBaby. I'm sure he got some bars. I know there's some people out there that rock with the music because I've seen it all over my social media.
I like to bet on Dreamville personally.
If I could get the Dreamville, DaBaby, I could listen to it, but it's just not for me.
Right.
But because he is the rapper, the artist, the musician that has the most clout coming out of Charlotte right now, I kind of have to give him that ambassador title. Where will it go? I don't know. But whenever I see him doing interviews, whenever I see him out and about, he's always repping Charlotte to some degree. So I kind of have to give him that. Now, in regards to the Dairy Queen situation, is this something that's come up recently? Because I know we saw this a couple weeks ago, right, and we took it as truth. And come to find out, it was just a rumor that had got started by some local rapper that was using the.
That is, right now that's what it is.
So now, I don't think there's validity in the whole DaBaby Dairy Queen story. But if he buys that building and he turns it into DaBaby's ice cream,
right,
or whatever catchy name he chooses to come up with, more power to him. Especially in that neighborhood.
Yes.
Especially in that neighborhood.
Can I say this? I'm gonna be the bad guy. I don't think that'd be a good idea in that neighborhood.
Why not?
Number one, you're getting rid of a community staple in that Dairy Queen. You know how mad people already are that thing is leaving that area? So you're going to tell me you're going to purposely not try to preserve it, but get rid of it and then put your own unproven...
It's already gotten rid of, so to speak. The owner of the Dairy Queen, they've already agreed to move it.
Even with that being said.
So, how long you live in Charlotte, Vince?
4 years.
Okay, so you don't remember how that Plaza Midwood used to be and how it is now.
Right.
I'll just say that a lot of people, I'm not going to go as far as say the majority, but I probably wouldn't be too far off, but most people that in that neighborhood don't listen to DaBaby.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
If he were to...
That's putting it nicely.
Yeah, so, yeah. You know what I really want to say. Right. So, if he takes down the beloved Dairy, like I said, it's already moving, but he makes a pastiche of it, essentially.
Right. It's semantics, but yeah.
Yeah, right there in the same spot. Oh, I don't know.
I don't know if that's going to work out too well for him, man.
I get what Jamal's saying. As far as him being like the ambassador of Charlotte's never really had such a thing.
True.
Even
Very
though
true.
we've had Fantasia Barrino, Anthony Hamilton,
Right.
Jodeci. Y'all ain't from New York, but you know what I'm saying. We've had all of these famous people from Charlotte, and then it's like we never found out. I think maybe Dale Earnhardt Jr. is maybe like our biggest ambassador.
True,
but
and then he ain't really from Charlotte either.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
yeah.
Like, so I guess I would consider the baby.
By default,
that's saying a lot coming from Kazi.
He's kind of putting us on. He's kind of putting us on.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. We haven't had somebody this visible rep so hard for us.
Yes, absolutely.
Right now, we can all agree with that. But more power to him, man. I have this visual in my head. Somebody's walking up to his new space, and they're seeing the menu, and it's like, oh, this is interesting. I don't know if I want to come back. You know what I'm saying? I'll just keep
especially
it
when it gets out that a guy who wore a diaper.
Like, could you imagine somebody walking up and that be the sign, like, you got some black dude in a diaper, DaBaby ice cream. It's like, man, you know what?
But on the flip side, on the flip side, it'll bring in another new base.
That's true.
Which might present another problem.
Maybe it'll bring in an influx of people that need to spend more time in Plaza Midwood.
And they may get introduced to Snug Arbor, which is literally across the street. So,
which ain't a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. So, like Carlton Banks said, it's a win-win bonanza, baby.
So, I hope it's true. Hey, if DaBaby does open the shop, I'll be one of the first to get a cone.
The baby cone.
The baby cone. Yeah.
A baby cone. All right.
So, all right. Well, that's gonna take us to our shout outs. Jamal, what you got for me this week?
I actually got a couple of shout outs, and I'm not gonna be mean this week. I don't have any mean shout outs this week. First and foremost, man, I just want to pass along I hate thoughts and prayers. I'm trying to come up with another saying for that, man. But just well wishes and all the positive energy I can muster up for my friend Brian. Man, I love you, man, and I will be. I'm sending you anything positive I can think of, man. I'll just keep it at that without giving away too much. Happy birthday to my brother Travis, man, and my last shout out. Goes to somebody who's unfortunately a Cowboys fan, a very loud, obnoxious, boisterous Cowboy fan, but he's also a very, very big supporter of Under Construction. So shout out to my boy Andrew Pittman, man. Been a great friend of me for a lot of years, and he's extremely supportive of the show. And like I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, man, I'm trying to focus more and more on the people who really, really got our back, so to speak, and who really support us and shout us out. So shout out to Andrew Pittman, man. And I also want to shout out the Panthers defense, man.
Yes, keep
all right. So
and shout out to Rodney, man.
Yeah. So I got a shout out and I got a shout at. I'm going to steal Jamal's thunder this week. So my shout out will go again to the city of Charlotte. And for those of you guys that have been watching, you guys know that I've been involved with cleaning up the Center Grove Cemetery. I've reached out to the Charlotte City government and all that good stuff. And they actually called me earlier this week. And essentially what they told me, they were just telling me some of the pitfalls that they were running into in the coming up with cleanup efforts. Legally speaking, nobody owns that cemetery, legally speaking. And so that being the case, they're trying to figure out what do we do so that we can get people out here and clean up. When I talked to the lady on the phone, I felt like a lot of the stuff that she was telling me was like BS and was fluff, but I understood that she was just a middle person and she was just doing her job. So I kind of took it at face value. But at the end of the day, people within the government are getting the message. And I was pretty pleased with that, to get that phone call and to know that the conversations are still being had. Right. So shout out to the city of Charlotte in that regard.
No doubt.
My shout at will go out to the Clemson Tiger fan base. Listen.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to try and cool off for this one. Listen, I hate
keep your thing safe,
Alabama football. I cannot stand anyone associated with the Crimson Tide. Because of that, I need Clemson football to be as dominant for the foreseeable future until one or two things happen. One, a few more teams rise to the occasion to where they can compete with Alabama football, or two, Alabama football becomes a shit. Until then, I need Clemson to continue to win, okay? But yesterday, they found themselves in a dogfight against the North Carolina Tar Heels, and they won by only 1 point after Mac Brown decided to go for 2 points for a 2-point conversion.
I don't blame him.
I don't blame him neither. I don't blame him either.
Blame him.
Congratulations. You won. But I need you to shut the fuck up. You beat a team who just last year went 2-9. And 2 weeks ago, they lost to Wake Forest. Last week, they lost to Appalachian State. Be humble. This is why nobody likes you. Because you...
New money, man. New money.
Listen.
New money.
Listen. Congratulations on your 20th win in a row. Congratulations on winning another ACC title this year. Congratulations on going back to the college football playoff. But be humble. You beat North Carolina. Your basketball team has lost to us 61 times in a row. Be humble. Stop.
Hey, hot take real quick. Clemson won't be back in the playoffs this year.
What's up, Rodney? Shout out to
I said it September 29th, 2019. Clemson will not be back.
There you have it.
Wow.
I'm going to have to take this clip and save it. There you have it.
Shout out I got is about former CFL football player Wendell Brown, who was just released yesterday after spending 3 years in a Chinese prison for a crime that he did not commit.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about this case is that his supposed crime in China happened at the same time that the UCLA men's basketball team was detained in China for shoplifting. They got to go home because of intervention from our president. However, this person who really was innocent of a crime could get no such intervention, and his mother had to raise money to literally pay off the Chinese government in order for them to reduce his sentence. That money was raised. I'll say his name. It was actually raised partially by Jason Whitlock. Jason Whitlock and other people in the local community. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I'm going to leave it alone because I don't want to come off too obtuse, so I'm going to leave it alone.
But Jason Whitlock and people of Detroit came together to raise money for him. So congratulations on him, being back in the United States and him enduring that. So I'm not gonna give thoughts and prayers. We need to find under construction. We got to find something new. Fans, we got to find something new. Thoughts and prayers ain't getting it done anymore.
Right.
So
right.
But yeah. So but thanks a lot for listening, guys.
Oh yeah, appreciate it.
Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube.
Please subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Instagram, on all your social media platforms. If you have not watched us on YouTube, then please go check us out on YouTube. Hit like, hit subscribe, and you will see us next week.
Fans, we love you.
All right. Appreciate it, y'all.
Peace out.